So you're thinking about teaching, specifically secondary school. Well, it's not all about eager students and fresh notebooks, though those are definitely perks. We're diving deep into what it really takes to be a secondary school teacher today, and thankfully, we've got our expert to help us cut through the noise.
It really is about more than just loving a subject, isn't it? Luckily, resources like this RoleCatcher Career Guide exist to give us a clearer picture.
And they're not afraid to get real, which I appreciate. So, what stood out to you in their definition of a secondary school teacher?
Well, they really emphasize the dynamic nature of the role. I mean, yes, you have a curriculum, but it's about so much more than just delivering it. You're crafting lessons for different learning styles, like, thinking about differentiated instruction so that you can reach every student.
Right, because a kid struggling with algebra needs a different approach than someone breezing through it.
Exactly. It's about individualized support, understanding each student's on their own path. And of course, staying updated in your field. No more just relying on that one textbook.
It's true. The days of just using a single textbook are long gone. It's about being a master of your subject and a master of conveying that knowledge. Now, let's be honest. We all know the summer's off joke, but what does Rollcatcher say about the real pros and cons?
No sugarcoating here. On the plus side, there's the job security of being a teacher. And of course, that feeling of making a real difference in young people's lives. Seeing that aha moment, incredibly rewarding. And as you gain experience, there's room for leadership, curriculum development.
Okay, those are some serious perks. But what about the flip side, the challenges?
They're real, and RoleCatcher doesn't shy away. The workload can be really demanding, often spilling over into evenings and weekends. And let's be honest, the pay. It doesn't always reflect the amount of education and dedication required.
That's a common concern we hear for sure.
And then there's the sometimes limited control over the curriculum, the teaching methods. It takes a special kind of commitment to navigate all that.
It sounds like it. You're balancing standardized testing, managing different personalities, maybe even dealing with limited resources, all while nurturing those young minds.
Exactly. And that's where the passion for the work is essential. It's like other helping professions, nurses, social workers, that blend of high demands and deep fulfillment. You have to be driven by something bigger than yourself to really thrive in that environment. And that's where having a resource like this career guide is so helpful. They actually delve into the stages of a secondary school teaching career so you can see how those demands and rewards, actually change as you gain experience.
And that's a perfect place to dive in. Let's say someone's listening and they're even more intrigued by this path, even with a realistic view of the challenges. What does that journey actually look like from those first steps, maybe a little nervous, into the classroom, all the way to leading a department?
Well, it's definitely a journey. It's not like they just throw you to the wolves, thankfully. RoleCatcher lays out this progression really well.
So there's like a gradual entry point.
Exactly. That first stage, entry level, is all about learning the ropes,
An apprenticeship for secondary education.
I like that. You're assisting experienced teachers, maybe co-planning some lessons, giving extra support to students who might need it, creating assignments. You're getting your hands dirty with all the parts of classroom life.
So it's a very hands-on, immersive way to start.
Definitely. And RoleCatcher even mentions being involved in extracurriculars at this level. So maybe you're helping out with the debate team or even coaching a sports team if that's your thing.
A great way to build confidence, find your footing, figure out what really clicks with you. So what's next after you've gotten that initial experience?
That's when you'd usually move into a junior teacher position. Here's where you start to spread your wings a bit more. You're creating and teaching your own lesson plans, taking on more responsibility for how the curriculum is delivered. You're also doing more assessments and things.
I bet that's both exciting and a little daunting.
For sure. More responsibility, yes, but also more autonomy in the classroom.
This is where your own teaching style really starts to come through, right?
Exactly. And then once you've got some solid experience under your belt, you typically become a senior teacher. This is where leadership starts to become a bigger focus.
Oh, interesting. How so?
RoleCatcher talks about mentoring newer teachers, maybe even getting involved in curriculum development. And of course, staying up to date on the latest pedagogical approaches. You're becoming a real leader and resource within your department.
So you're not only impacting students, but your colleagues as well. That's fantastic. What if you find yourself drawn to an even more prominent leadership role? Where do you go from there?
Well, for those who thrive in leadership positions, the natural next step is often becoming a lead teacher. This role acts as a bridge between the teaching staff and the administration.
That sounds fascinating, but also pretty demanding. What does it actually involve?
It's definitely a multifaceted role. Imagine coordinating department activities, digging into student performance data, mentoring and coaching your fellow teachers in your subject area. It's a juggling act.
Sounds like it takes a very specific skill set. And then RoleCatcher outlines one final stage, right? The peak of the secondary school career ladder.
You got to head a department. This is where your strategic vision really comes into play. You're leading the entire department, setting the direction, working closely with school leadership to shape the overall educational philosophy.
Wow. So you've gone from assisting with lesson plans to potentially shaping the vision of an entire school. That's quite a journey.
It really is.
You know, what strikes me is that RoleCatcher doesn't just present these stages in isolation. They highlight those skills you gain at each level,
Yeah.
skills that are valuable beyond just the classroom, too. It's like you're not just building a career, you're building this like incredible toolkit. Communication, problem solving, adaptability, those are valuable everywhere.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher really emphasizes that. They point out how the experience you get at each stage of a teaching career, it can actually be a springboard to other roles within education too. Maybe you realize you're passionate about curriculum development, or you find yourself drawn to educational technology.
Right. It's not just a single path, there are all these different branches. But okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about the more tactical part of becoming a secondary school teacher,
Yeah.
actually landing the job. Because, let's be real, the job market can be tough.
It can feel overwhelming, that's for sure. But I think that's where RoleCatcher goes above and beyond a traditional career guide. Their platform gives you actual tools to help you stand out.
So it's like having a secret weapon for your job hunt.
Huh.
Tell me more. What makes RoleCatcher so different?
Well, for one, they have this AI-powered resume builder. And it's not just about listing what you've done, it's about understanding what hiring managers actually want to see.
Okay, so how does that work?
The platform, it analyzes job descriptions, figures out the keywords, and helps you tailor your resume so it's, really targeted.
It's like having a personal marketing expert.
Right. And it goes even further than that. They can look at your profile, tell you about potential skills gaps based on the jobs you're interested in, which I think is amazing.
No more guessing. You know exactly what you need to work on. So cool.
It takes out a lot of the guesswork.
Yeah.
But, there's one more thing about RoleCatcher that we haven't talked about yet, this reverse matching thing.
Oh, yeah, that. It sounds so futuristic.
It's pretty cool. Basically, instead of you searching for jobs all the time, the jobs can actually find you.
Wait, what? How does that even work?
So employers on RoleCatcher, they can search for candidates using specific skills, experience, even teaching philosophies.
Wow. So it flips the whole job search on its head. And, that ties back to what we were talking about earlier about having a specialization.
Definitely. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that. Having a niche, whether it's like a specific teaching method you're great at or a passion for working with a certain type of student, that can make you even more attracted to the right school.
So it's all about really owning what you're good at. I love that.
Yeah, it is.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's the biggest thing you hope listeners take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing to remember is that becoming a secondary school teacher, it's not just a job, it's a journey. It takes dedication, resilience, a love of learning, and a real passion for working with young people, of course. But thankfully, with resources like RoleCatcher out there, it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
That's a great point. It's about going into it with your heart and your head, passion and a plan. And if we can use technology to make that path a little clearer, I'm all for it. It really makes me wonder, if AI can empower teachers in the job market, what else is out there that could help revolutionize education? Something to think about, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.